All right, naming the black keys. First thing I want to say about black keys, they are, in every way except their color, exactly the same, exactly equal to the white keys. They don't have some special quality. They aren't at all really different, other than they're just colored differently. And they're only colored differently so it's easy to see. So it's easy to look at what note you're looking at. If every key was white, it would be impossible to tell where you are on the keyboard. If there were no gaps between the keys like there are here, it would also be impossible to tell where you are. Notice that there's 2 black keys and a gap, 3 black keys and a gap. If there was no gap there and it was just black, white, black, white, black, white indefinitely, you'd have no way to know where you are on the keyboard. Having these gaps makes it easy to create a visual image of the 2 black, 3 black, 2 black, 3 black. So you can see the way the keyboard is laid out really helps us to find our place quite quickly. So let's get into naming the black notes. First thing I need to talk about is 2 terms. The first term is called sharp. Now you might have heard that term before. When someone's singing, maybe, they would say, oh, that note was sharp. Or someone's tuning a guitar and they say it's too sharp. Or a note, maybe a note's called F sharp or G sharp. Sharp means to raise, to go up, higher. So when something is sharp, it means it's too high. If someone tried to sing a certain note, but they sung it sharp, that means they sung it a little bit too high, higher than it was supposed to be. So when we're talking about the keyboard and the black notes can be called sharps. So let me explain. I have a note here, C, remember? 2 black keys, left, that's C. Now the next note is D, the next white key is D, but the one in between them is called C sharp. That means C but higher. So remember, sharp means to raise. So when we take a note like F and we go to the next one higher, F sharp. So each black key can be called its name, F, of the previous one, but sharp. So this is C and C sharp, but this is F and F sharp. You have D and D sharp, G and G sharp. It just goes for all the black keys like that. So that's what's important to know about this term, sharp. And that symbol that looks like a little hashtag means to raise, to go up. So that's the first way we can talk about these black keys, is by sharp. We take a note and the black key after it is the sharped version of that note. C sharp, F sharp. The next term I want to talk about is flat. Flat is the opposite. Flat means to lower. And if someone's singing flat, that means they tried to hit a note and they were too flat, means they're a little bit under the pitch they're supposed to hit. They're too flat. If you're tuning your guitar and it's flat, it means you need to tune the strings a little tighter so they get higher in pitch. So, and here we can do the same on the keyboard. So if we have a note, say E, remember we had C, D, E. The black key that's right underneath E is E flat. So we take E and lower it 1, and we get E flat. Say we take A and we lower it 1, A flat. B, lower it 1, B flat. So now this is a little bit confusing, isn't it? I thought we could just call all the black keys sharp, but we can also call them flat, and this is true. So this is something we're going to learn about here. Every black key can have 2 names. It can either be the sharped version of the one before it, such as F becomes F sharp, or it can be called the flat of the one after it. So G, and this one could also be called G flat. Now my little application here is saying it's F sharp because it's not going to show me 2 names at once, it's just picking one of the names. But this note can equally be called F sharp or G flat because it's one note higher than F, so remember sharp means to raise, F sharp, one higher than F, but you can also call it G flat, so G and one down, lower. So another example would be if we had D, this black key could be called D sharp or E flat. So again, my application is saying E flat because it's just picking one of the 2 options, but it's equally valid in this context to call it either D sharp because it's the one higher than D, or E flat, it's the one lower. Sharp is to raise, flat is to lower. One more example. If we took A, we could call this next one A sharp or B flat. It's one note higher than A, and it's one note lower than B, B flat. So all the black keys have two names, either the sharp version of the one before them, such as F and F sharp, or the flatted version of the one after them. So that's A down to A flat. So this key right here can be called G sharp because it's one higher than G, or A flat because it's one lower than A. Now, why would you want to choose one or the other? Why are there two names? It's a little more complicated than we have time to talk about right now, but that has to do with what key you're playing in. Now, if you don't know what that means, I will be explaining it shortly, but if you do know about anything about keys, the key you're in determines whether you call the black notes sharp or flat. The last thing I want to mention about this sharp and flat situation is that you'll notice these two spots on the keyboard in every octave that don't have a black key. C, D, E, straight to F. So there's no black key between E and F, and there's no black key between B and C. Now there is a reason for this. Again, it's a little bit too much of an explanation to go into for now, but suffice it to say it's basically what was convenient at the time, tradition, when people were designing the piano keyboard and talking about these things hundreds of years ago. It really doesn't matter. All that you need to know right now is that there is no black key between E and F. So E sharp is not really a thing. E sharp would be F, and F flat would be E. Now, there is times when you would call F E sharp, and there is times when you would call E F flat, but it's far too complicated for us to care about right now. And really, when it comes to making the kind of music we're talking about, it doesn't matter at all. I'm just going to call this F always. I'm going to call this E always. And for the sake of our conversation, there is no such thing as E sharp. There's no black key there. There is no E sharp. Again, there's no B sharp because there's no black key between B and C. And there's no C flat because there's no black key between C and B. Because that note that would have been there, the sharp or the black key between these two notes could have either been called B sharp or C flat. It was one note higher than B and one note lower than C. So there's two spots in the scale where there is no sharp. There's no E sharp and there's no B sharp, which also means there's no F flat and there's no C flat. Sharp means to raise, flat means to lower. Each black key can have two names, either the sharped version of the one underneath it, F sharp, or this could be called G flat, because it could be the flatted version of the one above it. G goes down to G flat, like A goes down to A flat, but this could also be called G sharp. That's really the essence of what's going on with the black keys. Now we know how to name all 12 notes of this chromatic scale, which is the scale that contains all the notes. That's C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, remember no E sharp, E straight to F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B straight to C again. And just to be clear, I could have called it like this: C, D flat, D, E flat, E goes straight to F, F goes to F goes to G flat, G, A flat, A, B flat, B, and there's no C flat, B goes straight to C. That's the octave, that's 12 notes. Now, again, it's extremely important that you practice naming these notes. Practice your white notes and black notes together until you can just name them at the drop of a hat. If someone points to one, you can name it. If someone says the name of one, D sharp, you can find it. G sharp, you can find it. That's A flat. Again, G sharp and A flat is the same. My program is just picking which one to display. So work on that for now. Once you start to feel comfortable with that, let's move on.